Hey, how's it going, everybody? I decided to make a video today. I'm not going to show my face; it's irrelevant to the point. This video is prompted by me spending the last few days debating religion, specifically with Christians, and my main point is how many logical fallacies the average Christian uses. And for those who don't know what I mean, a logical fallacy is an error in thinking. By the way, I'm out on a pretty day up here in the foothills. Doesn't matter where I'm at. It's kind of a nice day. It was just storming, but now it got pretty again. Anyway, back to logical fallacies. So they're errors in thinking, and the most common one that I see Christians make are a shift of the burden of proof. So I had a woman ask me, well, can you explain or provide any evidence that God does not exist? That is patently wrong. And I'll give you a scenario. If I were to claim that that tree is God, and then assert that to you, and then when you say, well, there's no way, that tree's not God, if I say to you, can you prove that that tree is not God? I would be wrong. The one making the claim, especially a positive claim, the positive claim being that tree is God, that person and only that person bears the burden of proof. You cannot shift it to anyone else and say, can you prove that it isn't this tree? That is wrong. You can't do that. So when someone says to an atheist, agnostic, whatever, can you prove that God does not exist? We don't have to. We aren't making the claim. We are simply stating we do not have sufficient evidence to believe that a God or anything supernatural exists. That's it. That's not a claim. That's the rejection of a claim. So we do not, cannot, and never will have the burden of proof. The burden of proof is on you. You say that the God of the Bible is true. You have to you have to prove that. You claim that Allah is the one true God, blah, blah, blah. You have to prove that. If you are Buddhist and you believe in Ganesh and blah, 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 Vishnu, you have to prove that. It's not up to us to disprove that. That's not how this works. Again, I will give you the analogy. If I were to claim that this tree is God, then I must prove it to you. I would never be logically justified in stating you must prove that that tree is not God. I hope I'm going to get through one of you fuckers' thick heads on this, because you simply refuse to even attempt to learn any kind of logic, critical thinking, power of discernment. You refuse to, and it is extremely frustrating. You cannot simply assert things without evidence. You cannot. And I'm going to piggyback, or I'm going to go into a different subject and talk about evidence. Now, I'm going to make a quote here. Evidence is proof for some, and proof is evidence for all. Let me explain. You believe that the Bible is evidence, okay? That isn't proof. The Bible is evidence and proof for you. I may agree with you that the Bible is evidence, but it does not prove it. Let me give an example. I like to give an analogy so I can, again, try to get through some of you thick fuckers' heads. If I tell you that I have $10 in my pocket, no one would disbelieve that. If I told you at 100, again, you probably would not require evidence. But if I tell you I have $10,000 on my person, you probably are not going to believe that on face value. You're going to demand evidence. Now, what if I were to point to my pants and say, well, there's a bulge in my pants, therefore that is the evidence I have the $10,000. That is evidence. That is not proof. I would have to provide or show you the money. But then again, that still is not proof. That's simply evidence. What if the bills were fake? What if the bills were fraud? What if I had a wad of bills with 100 on the outside, but it was nothing but paper, worthless paper, or dollar bills on the inside? So again, I'm providing evidence, but not proof. So when I say, do you have proof of God? You cannot use the Bible. You cannot do it. With that logic, using your own logic, then any of the characters of the Lord of the Rings must therefore be real because there's a book to support it. Is that logical? Of course not. That's ridiculous, right? That's the same way we feel about your little book. It's simply a book of claims. There may be some evidence therein, but that does not prove the assertions within that book. Does not prove that a God exists. Certainly doesn't prove that a Jesus exists. I'm going to go ahead and end this now. I might make some more, but I also want to go back or explain what my intention is here. I'm not trying to necessarily sway someone away from their religious beliefs, but I do want to educate on the critical thinking errors that are causing you to simply not think correctly. So have your little beliefs, but do so with logic and critical thinking and not with logical fallacies, because that's just wrong.